Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The rains came down and the floods came up. And although Texas did not receive NOAA's 40 days and 40 nights of rain, the recent 10 days of rain were like biblical proportions. The whole state received the incessant rain. And about the time we thought it was all over on Saturday morning, it all happened again Saturday night, flooding much of the same homes and communities throughout the state. In Houston, 6 so far have died. Statewide, there are now 24 deaths. 11 are still missing in Hays County when the Blanco River rose so fast at night it trapped people in over 200 resort homes that were on the river that eventually washed away. Many of Texas's rivers, the Trinity, the Colorado, the Brazos, the San Jacinto, rose at rapid record rates and are still out of their banks. Weather experts, Mr. Speaker, said so much rain fell in Texas in May that it was enough moisture to cover the entire state in 8 inches of water. That's a lot of rain. 70 counties have been designated disaster areas. News, Mr. Speaker, is that many voluntarily helped their neighbors and strangers survive the troubled waters of the floods. Here's just one example. The hard rain in Dallas flooded the Trinity River. Dallas is in North Texas. The Trinity River flows south down to southeast Texas near Houston. And the added rain in southeast Texas had the Trinity River the size of the Mississippi River. And as the river rose in southeast Texas, a herd of cattle were trapped in the middle of the river on high ground. This high ground was eventually going to be overcome with water, and the cattle would be washed out to sea eventually. The river at this point is between 2 small towns of Liberty and Dayton, about 6 miles apart, separated by U.S. Highway 90. So Sunday, in a scene reminiscent of the 1800s, cowboys mounted airboats, yes, airboats, Mr. Speaker, to force the cattle, the hundreds of cattle on this spot in the middle of the river, off of the spot to dry land, which was only Highway 90. It was the only area that had high ground. The highway was above the water, even though water was on both sides of the highway. The roundup took several hours because, Mr. Speaker, cattle are hard-headed. They did not want to leave the high ground and swim to a highway. So it took several hours to do this. Even they were lassoing, the cowboys were lassoing calves and tying them to the airboat so they wouldn't drown. And finally, after many hours, all the cattle were pushed up on U.S. Highway 90 between Liberty and Dayton, Texas. Now, what do you do with them? Well, the cowboys now on horses, along with citizens and other volunteers, herded the cattle down U.S. Highway to Dayton, Texas, through Main Street of Dayton, Texas. The citizens came out with their kids to see the cattle drive through Dayton, Texas, and they moved these several hundred of cattle to a rail yard where they will be kept. That is the highest area in the county, where they'll be kept until the flood waters finally are diminished. Of course, local businesses helped out, a local store, Casa de Bonnie in Liberty, and of course, the Sonic, always present in Dayton, supported the volunteers with food and drinks and other businesses as well. An example of how during a troubled time, tough times, Texans are helping each other survive this catastrophic flooding. So now, Mr. Speaker, that the rains that came down and the floods that came up have subsided and the earth has returned to its dry land, our prayers go out to the ones who lost family and friends and property. God bless every one of them. And we also give grateful thanks to those that helped each other during the floods of May. And that's just the way it is. I'll yield back.
Gentleman from Texas yields back the balance.